The water's fine, homie, jump into the deep end. Sow it, you will reap it. We talking how to start it, how to grow it, how to keep it. Take a deep breath. You are now rocking with Founder Secret.
Welcome to Founder Secrets. Today we have Ash Straughn, founder of SAM and many other things. Welcome to the program.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. We're just catching up on New York. I actually am using SAM to hire a person right now. So I am really excited to have you on and talk about how you went through raising money, not raising money, operations, a lot of fun stuff. But before we start, we have an icebreaker that we all answer, which is, what is the most efficient you've felt recently? And I'll go first in that I use Superhuman for my email. Do you use Superhuman, Ash?
I don't, but I know a lot of people that do.
It's really, really magical. I feel so efficient. Sometimes I send 60 emails in a day, or 60 emails in the span of 5 minutes, just following up on other emails, because they're all created with AI. They're follow-up emails, so that all they need to say is like, hey, did you receive my previous email? Or hey, are you still interested in chatting? And I feel like, what a productive day. I've sent all these emails in 5 minutes, and then I could use the rest of the time to do more creative things. What about you, Taylor?
Most efficient I felt. So some days, like my mom just moved, and so I was helping her move and kind of helping her through this process. And so I don't work as much during those times. And I think I feel similar to you. I have 240 emails in my inbox, and then I use keyboard shortcuts and just, I could plow through them in an hour. So that's one. And I guess I have someone who manages my mailbox. So that also makes me feel very efficient. So of the 240 emails, like 235 of them were probably managed by Max. So I just kind of look at things. So that makes you feel very efficient. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, most recently I've been using a new browser called Comet by Perplexity AI. And it has this ability to, it's agentic, right? So it has this ability to do things for you. And I'm always the person that's building a bunch of spreadsheets and flexing numbers here and there and putting in a bunch of formulas that break and then being upset that they break. So now if you have Comet open, you kind of just open the assistant that go into a spreadsheet that's breaking, and it'll like figure out a way to make this get to this because currently the formula is broken. And it will scan the sheet and it'll just work. It'll just start doing its own thing. I can go grab a coffee. I can go down to the content studio, fix some stuff up, come back. And then when I get back, it takes a while. It's slower than humans currently, but I think it's first iteration, second iteration. So give it time, it'll probably do it faster. But Comet has been such a lifesaver because I am good at spreadsheets but don't like to do them. So yeah, it works.
Well, it actually do the task. So if you say, hey, fix this formula, will I go fix it? Or does it just give you a recommendation?
Oh, it goes and fixes it. It hops in, looks at the cell, says, and it'll show its version of thinking. And it'll say, oh, I see that this is equaling X and it needs to equal Y. I've tried this. Let me highlight the cell for you. And it'll just tell you what it's doing while it's doing it. If it does something that's backwards or wrong, you can pause it, go make your own change, then put it back in. It's really
so cool. Who would have thought we're in this new age of new browsers, right? After we thought we figured out the browser, now every AI company is launching their own browser. Google must be so scared right now.
They're all based on Chrome.
Yeah, the open source version, but they're not getting ads revenue from it. So, all right. So Ash, you were at JP Morgan, you were at Postmates, you had a startup in Cody, super successful before launching SAM. So maybe talk a little bit about each stop in your career, if you will, and kind of what you took away.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been a long road. JP Morgan, at first, I should say the most candid thing I learned is that I don't like large firms as far as being impactful. That's just not, you're just not going to move the needle as fast as you want to at a large firm. But I will say one thing I took away from JP Morgan was that because it's such a large firm, everything has to scale. And so you have to think through a process essentially end to end. And yeah, that might require talking to a bunch of people, and people, categorize it as red tape. But those barriers that you're going to hit along the way, when you finally do launch what it is, when it's launched, it's ready to go. And so you kind of walk away with this, if it can't scale, it can't go type of mindset. So I love that at JP Morgan because of what it taught me. And then at Postmates was, I like to call it operations boot camp. I worked at Postmates before it was as large as it is. We were operating in New York. I was on the Northeast team. We were operating in New York, south of 96th Street. And just only in Manhattan. And so we needed to do everything, and everything went wrong as it normally would. It was Murphy's Law every day. But at Postmates, you really quickly learn to move fast and break things, not necessarily to get things done, but to figure out what wasn't working really fast and how to iterate. And so at Postmates, being able to go from JP Morgan, where everything required a scaling mindset, and then rushing into Postmates, where you're moving fast and breaking things, you move fast and break things, and now you're also able to break things with the thought process of how do we scale this, right? So that was Postmates. Chariot, I would say probably relationships was the biggest walkaway. It was in transportation. It was in New York. New York is a very big relationship city, and the difference between you getting your vehicles inspected on Friday or Wednesday when you have a launch for Monday is very much about whether or not they like and trust you. So if you're a jerk, you're probably not going to be the best fit when it comes to getting things done with relationships. But also, I would say at Chariot, it was also about getting buy-in and building relationships with the teams that work for you. We had the largest retention. We had like 98, 97% or something like that of our driver team, which was unheard of for all of the markets. And it was because they trusted us, and we let them know what the company was doing and why the company was doing what it was doing. And building those relationships was really, really important for that. And then we can skip to Cody. At Cody, I learned that I could run a company. Cody was very much about being trusted with very large things, as far as where the company's going to go with a pivot, being trusted with a pivot, being trusted with being part of that fundraising team.
What was the pivoting? Because you were the COO at Cody, and maybe talk a little bit about, like, what did Cody do? And I didn't realize you pivoted.
Yeah. So originally Cody was residential. It was best described as Airbnb meets WeWork. And it was in a moment of where, prior to the pandemic, you left your home, you went to work. That was just what you did, right? But while you were at work, your home was empty, generating no revenue for you. And not everyone wanted to have Airbnb and have people stay over, etc. So you've got this booming Wi-Fi that you don't use for 8 to 10 hours of the day. And Cody was operating in a space of where freelancers or neighboring people, consumers could book your space as a Cody host, go to your place, work from your house in your spare office or at your dining table, use your Wi-Fi, drink all your coffee, and you would get paid per person.
Sounds kind of weird. I wouldn't want anybody in my
But
place.
I mean, if you think about it, right? But so did Airbnb. Airbnb was like, hey, when you're not here, you can have strangers come over and just sleep in your bed. Isn't that fun? And you think about that idea, it like in the original of it, you're like that. I don't like that at all. And I'm still like that. I don't want to have people sleep in my home.
By the way, how did that work out? Because I feel like every Airbnb I go in now is basically a hotel. Like, I haven't been to an Airbnb.
Now they're all vacation homes. Now they're all.
I haven't been in an Airbnb that's an actual human's house in 6+ years.
Like originally that was the idea of marrying these two and not necessarily having to have people stay over. So then the pandemic happened and no one was going to work anymore. Everyone was at home. I decided this is the perfect time to join this company. They're clearly on the trajectory of massive success. I'm so excited. And then upon joining, they had just pivoted and they said, hey, Ash, we're happy to have you. We've pivoted. We're excited. We're now going to have companies work out of people's homes. And I went, this is nuts. And more importantly, guess what? We have people who have said they want to do this. We need you to find a place for them. They start in 3 weeks. So that was what transition was like. And I joke about it because it was such a strange environment. how we ended up doing that was I started sourcing through vacation homes and people who had homes that were separate. But they wanted to create this hub during the pandemic that adapted, right? Like people were starting to get out of their house, but not going to other people's homes necessarily, not really having a lot of, you could only have 5 people in a room, that type of stuff. And so they wanted to create local hubs that were near people's houses so their teams could essentially get out, still have communication and not go stir crazy. So that was the initial, a couple of months into that, I started onboarding more commercial feeling spaces because that's what clients were asking for. They wanted to feel more, even if it was homey, they wanted to feel like it was more industrial in a way. And after about a year, the CEO pulled me into a call and she's like, hey, right now you're onboarding about 60% commercial spaces now. Like we need some residential. And so I had a conversation just around, hey, it wasn't just myself, other people on the team, but hey, this is what people are asking for. I know what we launched with, and it's really important to be able to adapt as a founder. In that moment, she trusted me and the voices of others to pivot towards commercial, but now we're pivoting towards commercial in a world where WeWork is under a bunch of scrutiny for a bunch of leases, and the headlines are WeWork is shutting down, right? So how do we survive as a company that is now going to be offering commercial spaces in this world where investors are screaming and running away from anything that looks like this? So then it became my job to figure out how we make that a success.
How did you do it?
What we did was we piloted proprietary contracts with the landlords. And in New York, there's something called a good guy clause. And that good guy clause in a lease basically means that you have the ability to, if you default, shake hands, grab your stuff, 30 days, move out. We put that into a contract as opposed to leases. And so now we're signing contracts with landlords that allow us to sublet the space. And if our tenant, for any reason, defaults, we are able to shake hands and walk away. The buy-in for them in New York was a little bit tough, but the way that we got it was we would sign on for 6-month, 12-month terms as opposed to 25, 5-year leases. And the value add to them was, hey, after this term, you have the ability to reevaluate the market and see if you want to raise the price, right? We know that we're still mid-pandemic, coming out of pandemic. The market price might change. Landlords are very big on, they want the most amount of money for their space. And so that was kind of our way in, and we started getting hundreds of thousands of square feet, and that started working, and that was the best way to do it. And then we also figured out another way of kind of saving funds by not spending all of our money on inflating the operations team that was responsible for not just kind of walking through a space and inspecting it and making sure everything was good and working with the real estate team there, but also installing every piece of furniture, which is why every time I walk into an office to this day, I probably know where everything comes from.
Whoa. And how you guys also raised from Andreessen Horowitz, top tier VC? Was that also during this time?
So that was right after the pivot. Once we had the conversation around, okay, let's do this commercial pivot. Let's put marketing behind it. Let's chat with some people that we have. Let's get some referrals out. The company 100x in growth in about 4 or 5 months. And that was a very big bloom and very large. When you look at, Andreessen, that's going to cause some attention, right? And so in that process, we spoke with them and they were interested in all the follow-ups were, hey, we were at this revenue before, but now we're here. Just, it's the same fundraising talk, right? Of, hey, we're here now, we're here now, hey, we're here now. And it just kept going up and it kept getting better. And we had also launched the vertical of short-term bookings as well for companies that wanted to use us for offsites and that type of stuff. They could use one of the Cody spaces that were already furnished. So with that, also what was important for Andreessen was, okay, you have this booming business. How are you going to mitigate your operating costs? Because if you are installing all of the furniture, you're onboarding all of these spaces, at some point, your headcount on your operations team is going to inflate beyond measure, and that's going to be a massive cost center. So naturally, the CEO said, hey, Ash, that's a great question. So what I piloted over there was the fractional workforce for our installation teams. And so these were 1099 contractors that were converted into vendors that we worked with surrounding their invoicing, compliance, everything else. But we used them all we needed to. and we were able to go through the ebbs and flows of that, right? Like real estate isn't booming 100% of the time. You have seasons. And so if you're up Q1 and then down Q2, you don't want to be spending $1 million in headcount to just keep people there. And so they got to kind of scale down when we were down, scale up when we were up. And that worked really well and saved us probably around, if I had to estimate it and ballpark it, I would say we probably saved around $1 million in headcount year over year over that.
Wow. And how many people did you hire like that?
I think at scale, we were somewhere around 35 to 45. And that included installation and logistics. That included cleaning. That included vendors that were placing beverages, snacks, phone booths.
So you take individuals and kind of make them like little companies, little vendors that you'd pay as needed. And they were okay with that because they didn't have any other job opportunity.
Well, they were more okay with that because it didn't limit them from taking on additional clients, right? And then you have a big name behind you. You got one of your largest clients is one of the most talked about prop tech, companies as it was at the time. And so in that moment, you're saying, oh yeah, they're my client. It's a different pitch for you when you're having conversations with your future clients for them. So it was a win-win.
Well, so this sounds amazing. You were signing all these leases. Almost sounds like a WeWork store. You were like scaling a revenue.
Contracts, not leases.
Signing what?
Contracts, not leases.
I see, because you had this clause to be able to get out, which is even way better. I don't know why Adam couldn't figure that out, but you oh yeah, so this is great. Revenue scaling. You got this series. You made operations scale. So then what happened? Why'd you leave? It sounds like this.
So yeah, I think just with the time of AI and where everything was going with that pivot, when you think about a business that's moving into a world of AI, you also start to think about what's necessary full time. And so I think the overall business decision is just what is necessary full time? Are we needed full time? And the truth of that is no, we're not necessarily. And so with that, a few of us departed and they're still running and they've rolled out AI things and they're now in a place of where their AI, you can essentially ask their AI for new updates for vendors and have your office essentially run itself without needing that manual override. So, I still text the CEO from time to time. We're still, great communication, but it makes sense from a business point at that.
Gotcha. And you wanted to start another company?
Initially, no. Initially,
you're like, I'm good.
I'm going to take a break. I'm going to, travel, which we did. But then I started looking at the job landscape and just things started jumping out. I started looking at LinkedIn has become a place of people really expressing their feelings about what's going on. And for them, it was just layoffs from tech workers consistently, big companies, small companies, but mostly large tech. And then there was also people I was seeing I'm in a bunch of, founders Slack communities and just operator Slack communities at the time. It was just operator Slack communities and people were looking for part-time people. That's just what they were looking for. It's such a trend. And I just thought through, okay, we did this at Cody. We piloted this, right? The business chose to, at one point, we had also piloted fractional office managers as well. From the business point, they didn't want to have that based on where they were going, but it worked and it worked really well. It was a way to keep people in an ecosystem where you can procure your office through us, have it furnished through us, have it operated through us, and then also have it managed with a fractional operations manager. That sounds incredible. You're forever in that ecosystem, right? And so we just started thinking, myself and the other two co-founders, also from Cody, started thinking through, hey, this worked. Let's see what's there and what's actually in demand. And so originally it was just role agnostic. In the beginning of this year, we're in a place where we took on a really great partner that helped us around kind of sourcing and speaking with clients. And it was such a wide net of roles that we just decided, let's stay role agnostic and let's see. Now we've narrowed it down and now we're saying, we're the place where you go when you need fractional that can scale with you, right? And when you think about what defines that, that's usually early stage companies, seed stage, Series B. You're thinking, okay, I really want to hire someone because the team's burning out. Or, whether I moved into a new office because I was supposed to, and now someone on the team is taking on responsibility they don't need to, or we need to move a product forward. We need an engineer. We want a top engineer. We can't afford a full-time one, or we can't afford one that we don't want a VP of anything at this stage. We don't want a COO or C-suite anything at this stage. But we also don't want someone super entry level that we need to train and onboard for 3 to 6 months. So we rolled something out around that. Product growth, admin, marketing, when you think about that, and engineering. Now people can come to us and say, okay, we need this person. We need them to have startup experience. We need to ensure that they can do this, this, and this. And the sticky point is that they can plug and play. And, that's, Flavio, that was kind of your story as well. When we think about, this person needs to have startup experience. We want to make sure that they are in here, and we generate that, and that's how we build.
Yeah, I'm definitely a convert. I'm curious, what do you think, Taylor?
Well, I mean, this is extremely crowded space, right? Like this is space that many people have tried to disrupt. There are big companies in this space. We have friends of ours who are in this space, who have been on this pod. How did you get the first few clients? How do you get off the ground? These all sound like good ideas, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to sell clients and generate revenue and make money. So how are you able to get the early momentum and get those first few clients in a quite crowded space?
Yeah, so I think it's crowded if it's not niched down. And what I mean by that is, if we look at most fractional, go fractional, get fractional, we are fractional, whatever the fractional website may be, you're usually looking for someone senior that starts at director level and above. That's what most people are going for. On the other side of it, for the others, larger companies that are in the space, they're offering something that is entry level all the way through senior, but it's super broad, not necessarily startup niched, and it's most likely offshore, right? And so there is a company that niched it out and said, hey, we're only going to focus on Fortune 500 companies. And they're doing incredible. They're a $1 billion company today. And so when we look at that, we say, okay, so carving it out works. There's no one that's technically competing with them for that specific niche of bringing it to enterprise. And so for us, carving it out was important in a couple of ways. 1, startup talent. 2, not senior, not entry level, mid-level, executional. 3, making sure that people can scale this person as they need to, but on a subscription basis. You sign up for a tier, you pay your flat rate. That's what you're paying for this role, this placement. And 4, speed and precision matching. I think everyone talks about, we can show you all of these candidates that will match somewhat of what you're looking for. Our AI actually goes in, takes the understanding of your job, and then we can tweak it. And we can tweak it to make it mean to weigh more on something else. So if you say like, hey, what's really important is that this person has worked with, an exec before, that they're the right hand, they know how to be, we can tweak it and make that weigh that. So it doesn't just pull people who have just worked, in an organization, but it pulls people who have served as a right hand. And so being able to differentiate yourself and move and place someone in 5 days after someone has said, yes, this person, that's also a differentiator for us.
This, in a way, is kind of a two-sided marketplace, right? I mean, you have to have the people willing to pay the money, the companies, and you have to have the talent, as you refer. So how do you get the talent? Because on your website, you talk about getting them in 5 days, which means I suspect you have to have a relationship with those people. Like, it'd be hard to convince someone cold, hey, I've got somebody for you, and then convince them to move forward in 5 days. So how do you get those relationships with the contractors, keep them warm, so that when, as you pointed out, when somebody has that opportunity, you can say, oh, John, I've got somebody for you. How do you do that side?
So first, I realized I didn't say how we got our clients. So we hard launched about 8 months ago. In that, we've placed somewhere between like 7 to 8 roles, and most of those were founder conversations, having conversations with people, founder-led sales, kind of people are looking for something. We have a conversation with them, and usually there's a founder-to-founder kind of support level that happens there. So that's the answer for that. The other side of it and how we get the talent, not everyone can make it onto our platform. And we say that with people that we meet, if we're at networking events, anything like that, and they say like, oh, that's great, I'd like to join. And say, great, you can apply. Applying means that you have to go through a vetted process. That process pulls a bunch of data, puts you through an AI interview, and when it's time, you get tapped for a one-on-one interview. Something that we learned along the way was exactly what you mentioned, which is you can onboard a bunch of talent, but unless they're getting a bunch of gigs or finding some sort of value through you, they have no incentive to stay. And so we ran into an issue where we were looking for a placement, spoke with someone, and we had the perfect match. We reached out to them. We're excited to present them. And then they said, oh, I actually just took a role because I hadn't heard from you guys, right? And that's fair. That's what you expect. We also spoke with a couple of people who said, okay, do they know how to use, insert tech stack AI, right? So that's like HubSpot AI, Notion AI, Salesforce, Trello, Monday, whatever it may be. And we got that a couple of times. And so we solved that problem by launching our version 1 of SAM AI Academy. And so if you make it onto the platform, you get access to SAM AI Academy that will teach you how to use the AI arms of a lot of the standard startup tech stacks. And the reason for that is twofold. One, for the stickiness, to keep them engaged, right? Two, because we can also boost their profile and now make them more attractive to people that want to onboard someone with a specific skill set of building fast. And three, we also want to be able to tap into something that a lot of current users don't have. Like, you can have a team that has been using Monday forever, and you say, okay, let's use Monday AI. They're not going to take the time to learn it. So now we're bringing you a team that actually took the time to learn it because they were in the middle of either job searching or not having something full time and wanted to upskill. And so now that we're adding that level of value, they're upskilling, they're becoming more attractive to the clients that are available. They're sticky on the platform because they have a course that they can go through and learn to build something, and they know that it's going to be used to boost their profile later.
Yeah, this happened to us, right? Because we're looking for a finance person that uses Rippling, and Rippling is a very startup kind of tech platform. So a lot of finance people that work at bigger companies never heard of Rippling or JustWorks or any of these HR platforms that startups use. Zenefits guy, yeah. And Rippling is great, despite his, trials and tribulations. The Rippling platform has been really great. So I see that, and also I can say, like, the AI is interesting. That you're right. The first few candidates were like okay, but then we iterated, and the last one, it's crazy. I don't even know if you did this on purpose, but he went to Davidson College, where I went, and that's just like, I'm wondering if that's like, did the AI did that, or did it just like chance? But like, to match, but it's little things like that that, and I also think, in this day of hiring, it's impossible. It was impossible already to get a job by just applying blindly, right? So now I think both sides use AI, right? You got this very savvy people looking for jobs who are using AI to scour and apply and use like AI for resumes and cover letters and just like spam to try to get a job. So then the employers also have to use AI. So am I going to invest in using our tech people to get really good at AI for hiring, or have a tool? Maybe Sam's one, but I think there'll be others that you'll basically need. If these hiring platforms don't adapt fast enough, there will be somebody needs to help these people, these employers, sort through all this AI garbage resumes. Rippling, by the way, does have a hiring thing, and it's terrible. So, so anyway, that's how we found it so far. Curious, have you raised money for this? So it'd be like your first round. Can you share any more about it, or is it all secret? Well, so like, what makes you feel maybe how much you're raising, or what makes you feel like you're at a point where you need to raise? Because like you mentioned before with Cody, you show up to Andreessen and you're like, hey, we used to make X, now we make 100X. Are you interested in investing? They're like, yeah. So how do you, yeah. How does that apply to you, Sam, right now? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll say with Sam, it's a very similar thing. When I saw so many companies that were raising pre-seeds off of ideas, right? That's what people are currently doing. And you can have a great idea. Let's be honest, we all wake up with great ideas in the middle of the night or in the morning, and it seems like a great idea until it's just not. And so with Sam, we wanted to prove that it worked before entering raises, and that meant a milestone of, like, we calculate ARR even though we're early. And the reason we do that is it's predictable and it's recurring and it's auto renewal, right? And so with people coming to us and having a minimum 3-month contract, you multiply that across 4, you've got your ARR, right? Our margin's captured somewhere in there. That's the conversation that we talk to investors about. But we had to hit a milestone. That milestone was at least 100K. And so we surpassed that. We were close to 200 when we started. Now we're close to 500. And so it's important to have that, but also be in a place where the momentum is shifting. And so, when we got close to 100K ARR, it was like, okay, we've got a little bit of something here. It's not, but it was a little bit of a stall. And then out of nowhere, there was this pipeline with a client that we closed that was massive. And then there was another client who said, yeah, we could definitely use you guys for at least 5 roles. And we started to see that it also wasn't just fractional. I need someone part-time, 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. But it was also, hey, we need people 40 hours, but we want them contracted. We want to save on whatever expenses that company chooses to save on. And so we're still coming in what they would deem as under budget at that point. And so once we started picking up that momentum, which is where we are now, we entered the raise. And that conversation was we have 3 co-founders. We're very democracy driven. So 2 thumbs up, we're doing something. 2 thumbs down, we're just not. That's just what it is. You can try to push that needle as much as you want, but if we've got two thumbs downs or ups, that's what's happening. But the best part about that was we all agreed that we needed a specific benchmark, specific milestones, specific proof points, meaning not just is it just money, but have we been able to match successfully? How much are we closing with the conversations that we're having? How many clients are moving forward? How many leads are saying no? How many, how fast are we actually placing them? How well aligned are we matching? Like, these are the things that we wanted to make sure we hit along the way. And we've hit quite a few of them, with the tweak on lever being the most important one and the most recent one, where someone can say like, hey, I want this person to have used this specific tool, but also I want this person to have worked on a team that was less than 10 people or anything like that, be able to add that weight, make it very precise. And then finally being able to have their internal resume kind of consistently updated as they provide more data. So we wanted to kind of cover all fronts, create something defensible, create something that was moving, has momentum, has clients, and has quality and people talking about, okay, we'll do another one and another one. So
how did you get those clients that you mentioned, the ones that with the 5? These are very hard to get, like to build the trust, to be early. So how can you walk through, like, how did you do that? It's so hard. And I think there's so many nuggets. And, once somebody's already at scale and they already have 400 clients, like going from 400 clients to 800 clients, it's just a matter of work, right? But going from 0 to 3 or going from like 1 to 6, like there's tremendous work. Like there's way more work and way more to figure out in the earlier stage versus when a business is scaling. So can you talk about like, how'd you find those prospects? How did you convince them, to sign contracts like you're talking about? How did that work?
I would say convincing them is not necessarily something we have to do, but educating them on what we do is probably the fastest way. And so getting it down to a 1 sentence, I meet people all the time. I'm, out at events, I'm at office hours, I'm in the Slack groups, I'm on Zoom calls. And when someone says, oh, what do you do? I say, oh, our AI vets and places startup talent in 5 days on subscription. And then it's like, what is that even? That right there is all we really need to kind of talk about what they need and understand their pain points. And when we look at our ICP, seed stage to Series B companies, they need to move fast, right? Like I've been at companies that were scaling across, like you think about Postmates, right? Scaling across the Northeast at a very fast rate. You need to be able to move quickly, which means you're most likely looking to hire quickly. But you also, when we think about what startups are spending on runway through headcount by hiring too fast, too quick, that's a pain point. You don't necessarily want to hire 5 full-time people just to decrease the burnout rate or for the projection of what's to come, which is kind of how projection models are built right now. Like, oh, a lot of people will attach their sales model to their salespeople, right? And they'll say like, oh, if we're closing 25 deals per quarter with 1 salesperson, we're going to add another salesperson. It's instantly going to go to 50, but it's not necessarily. It's the system of what you're using. And so how do you test that out? What if you brought someone on for like 20 hours a week, Does that mean that instead of that 20, that 50, that you're going to go to 40, to 30, to what does it actually look like? And so having that conversation with early stage founders, it makes sense for them because we're not saying sign up for a year like a lot of competitors will do and say, also give us 30 or 50% of this margin from this hire that you also don't have because you're at max budget. We're saying, what's your budget? We'll find someone in there. We want to make sure that it's feasible for the talent that we're placing. It's something that is worth it to them. And then we also have a commitment from you that works on both ends. Because if I'm a fractional worker through any sign up platform that you can just use me for, an hour if you need to, and then cancel it immediately, that's not a good buy-in for me. If I know you're going to use me a minimum, I'm going to get paid for a minimum of this amount. I'm going to be on there for at least 3 months. I know what that looks like. And we have to be really mindful about both sides of that marketplace as well.
How do you scale to, so if you raise the money, you talked about building this kind of AI platform to upskill some of these people. I think a lot of that makes a lot of sense. How do you scale the business beyond you and the 2 other or 3 other co-founders? As you think about scaling a business like this, what's going through your all's heads?
Yeah, I think based on being on a leadership team previously and being on the ground for another company, one thing has never changed, and that is word of mouth is the strongest form of marketing you will ever have. And so you can spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing if you like. It will help you scale, but most likely not to the point of which word of mouth will be, because people will work with people that they like and trust. And so if I worked with someone and I thought they were great, and then someone else wants to hire them, they will call me for a reference, right? And so then that me just saying how great this person was, all of a sudden they trust this person as well. And so for us, it's really about nurturing those early relationships, having referrals out, and then our plan at some point is to build incentives around that so that we can pay attention to the word of mouth. But simultaneously, we're working on partnerships right now. One of the partnerships that we're working on, since it's not signed, I can't say what it is, but it will put us across 65 markets in front of around 4,000 startups on an annual basis. And we're also working with partnerships with from the property side as well. There are a lot of tenant brokers that are working with startup companies, right? And so you love your broker, you trust your broker gets you a great deal, your broker comes to you with another recommendation and says like, hey, like you should use this because they also can help you with your office management or anything else. And our entry point might be role 1, but our goal is to scale within clients, not just increasing their hours as an upskill, but also increasing the amount of placements they use, because the subscription model is that they're paying per placement. So that's really where our value exists. And so that's another one. The other one that is also really important and moves founders a lot is if their VC comes to them and says like, hey, you should try this product, they're most likely going to try it, right? And so as we raise, a couple of things that we're doing is we're chatting with VCs along the way. And like in that process, we're talking to them and saying, hey, we might be a great fit for some of your smaller companies. The best part about us right now is that we're raising our first round, therefore we're early stage. So the VCs and the investors that we're speaking to are looking at early stage companies. They have early stage companies in their portfolio. And so we're instantly tapping into a bunch of potential customers by just talking with VCs in general and maintaining a great relationship with them, whether or not they end up on the cap table.
That's awesome. Using VC conversations for sales feels like the best way to not feel like used and empty after a VC conversation. That's a way to hack it. What about, so you seem like operations is definitely your superpower, and I'm wondering, how do you measure, we've gone through a number of things, EOS traction and OKRs, and what is that? The CEO within has a whole framework. And I'm curious what you think, of OKRs, because I know you've used that before, but maybe also in general. Well, we'll move after that. What do you think of OKRs?
I think OKRs should be a team effort. I think very often founders will say, we're going into the next quarter, here are the OKRs, right? But as you think about a founder that's scaling, you're growing a company. So what you might see and your vision of the entire company gets smaller and smaller with each stage with your growth, right? And so if you just say, here are the OKRs, this is what we're doing, it may not be aligned with changes that have happened, things that have changed on the ground, pivots that may be coming up, things that someone else has heard in the news, whatever it may be. And so I think having it be a team effort is super important. If you have someone who pulls all of the teams together and you can say, like, here are the company-wide goals, right? Here's what we want to accomplish. Send that to your leadership team, and then have a conversation with the leadership team about what's feasible, because they're managing the teams that you have, and they know what's happening every single day, because their teams will complain to them but won't complain to you, the founder, because they love their jobs and want to stay employed. So have that conversation with your leadership team. Leadership team says, yes, possible. Yes, possible. This is tough because. It doesn't mean that you can't push back and challenge creative solutions, but at least allows you to create a space where you can revise together. Then you get buy-in from that leadership team, and now they feel confident going and saying, okay, here's what we spoke about. I brought all your grievances. Here's where we landed. Now let's do OKRs. Then you have OKRs, and that should be a team effort as well. So now it's layered. As a founder, you've said, here's what we want to do. Leadership team has gotten the buy-in. Now they're having a joint conversation across the leaders in their team and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do, but which department has to support this, right? So, okay, ops, you're going to do this, this, and this, but you need sales to support you. You need product to support you. Okay, product, are you able to support on this based on what you have rolling out? Product, you're doing this, but before you can launch an MVP, you need to see the process and work. Okay, ops, can you create some sort of process so that product can work better or faster to get this done? Marketing, you need this, or sales, you need this, and marketing's not quite aligning. You need marketing to support you on this. Can you guys set up some once a month calls, bi-weekly calls to make sure you're aligned on these OKRs? And that's my philosophy, kind of keeping everyone bought in on the same vision, but also making it measurable, because you're creating accountability when you're setting those OKRs as well.
So then what do you use OKRs? What do you use right now in SAM?
At SAM, I think a couple of things that we're doing as we move fast, do our best to not break things, is kind of the decision latency. So when we say, okay, there's a problem, I'll give a live example. We got feedback, and that feedback was a lot of the data that you're grabbing is great data, right? But all of it is also self-reported. So someone can basically say, like, hey, I've got this. And then you say, yeah, we cross-reference it with this, this, and this. Like, yeah, you're cross-referencing it with maybe LinkedIn to see if there are gaps. You're cross-referencing it with, an interview that you had through AI, a founder interview, et cetera. You're doing gap analysis, you're plugging in, but they're still just saying all of these things. If this were a traditional hiring process, there would be a reference portion. And that was great feedback, right? When we got the feedback in, I would say, around March, it was around EAs that had worked specifically at startups. At that point, we were kind of like startups, high growth companies, whatever it may be. It was around startups. It took us a while to kind of make that iteration from, okay, we only want to focus on admin that has been at startups. And when we were looking at it and we were doing it kind of role by role as it came in, it took us a while. It took us a couple of months to make that change. When we got the reference feedback, that was 2.5 weeks ago. On the 1st of November, we launched references, and it now went out to the talent pool, and it went out to the people that were being onboarded and saying, okay, great, you've completed your AI interview. Now you have a reference link. We need this to go to your references, and we capture validation and verification from the references as well to prove that they are who they say they are. So that decision latency and going from a couple of months to let's make that change in a week, that's a really big thing. And then we followed up with that person and said, like, hey, thank you for your feedback for this. We really want you to know that we've done this and we've made this change. By the way, do you think we'll be a great fit for your portfolio companies? And got good response from that.
This is exactly what I think Indeed and these guys can adapt fast enough, and they're going to buy you one day. So we'll have to talk about investing offline, but and we could keep going. But let's move on to a hack that we all answer, a little Apple tool tip. And I'm actually going to go first with a hack or a tip, if you will, which is the Oishi strawberries. Have you ever had the Oishi strawberries? It's these Japanese Oishii. It's this Japanese strawberry that you'll have it at your any kind of Whole Foods gourmet thing, and they are the best strawberries you've ever tasted in your life. Oishi, Oishii. Gotta try these strawberries, guys.
Oh, what a name.
It's a omakase, like a Japanese.
Can you buy them at Whole Foods?
Yeah, apparently you can buy them at the Oishi farm in New York. So I'm sorry, Taylor.
I'm sure they have them in California. You're closer to Japan than we are.
That's true. But when I type find in store, I think the closest one's in Chicago. So yeah, looks like a pretty East Coast kind of thing. That's cool.
So I'm so interested to find out how this is a hack. I'm so interested in this bridge.
Whoa, what do you? It's something I've enjoyed that I'll share with others. That's that. So a hack can really be anything like that. It can be a pillow, as Taylor likes to sample different types of pillows and beds. So it can be anything. All right, Taylor, you want to go next?
The Oishi berries don't have great reviews on Amazon Fresh.
They are expensive. It's like $1.10 a strawberry. So
Wow. I'm gonna try them. That's cool. So I have a food related one too. I didn't know that we were both going to have one. Mine also has I think the same reviews. Now I'm looking it up, but I'm gonna give it a much better review. So it is a milk frother from Breville. So I was getting like 1 or 2 or 3 lattes a day. Starbucks is walking distance from our place. I can walk right there. I order it on my phone. I just walk over. It just became it was like too much. And as I start Googling and going down this rabbit hole of how can I just do it at home? Not even to like save cost, but just like the convenience and maybe I can make it even better, right? If I really like lattes, if I could control it, maybe I could somehow make it better. And so I landed on this. It's called the Milk Cafe from Breville, and it is amazing. So you could put any kind of, my wife likes almond milk, so you could put almond milk in there. You could put whole milk, low fat milk, any of those things. And then it'll heat it up to the temperature that you select. So I like my milk very, very hot. So you can turn it super hot. Or it'd be a little lower for like almond milks and whatnot. And it's so good. I had one this morning. I'm going to have another one after this pod. And it has cut my Starbucks usage by probably 85%, which no other, like Nespressos or any of those ever did that. I just like Nespresso ended up becoming a supplement to Starbucks.
this thing's $200.
Yeah, it's $200. Yeah, it's like it's the Oishi strawberry milk frothers, but you can find it used. Like if you would like a used milk frother,
Like a really dirty, rusty milk frother.
yeah, it is expensive. It is a little bougie.
I mean, also so is the Oishi strawberry. It's $2.50 per berry. I've never seen this level.
Cheaper than that, and you can just reuse this, forever, or until it breaks after 2 years, probably. But it's amazing. It's very easy to clean, which is another thing I was looking for, because there are competitors of this that are cheaper, but they are not as easy to clean. You literally just put water in there. I turn it around. It's I highly recommend it. It's great. But yes, it is a little bougie. But they do have Black Friday deals, because I think I got it on a deal.
I could do it on Afterpay. All right, what about you, Ash?
I would say mine is probably a combo around coffee as well. I'm a massive coffee drinker, and I think I also drink my coffee throughout the day, so it'll get ridiculously cold. So one is the Ember mug. It's a great. You can't. Yeah, there we go. This one keeps it warm. You sit it on a nice little plate in your office, and it just keeps it warm, whatever temperature you want it to be. You can set that temperature on your phone, and it'll keep it warm throughout the day. Because if not, I'm drinking the same cup of coffee from morning to like midday before I go do a refill, and that's not great. That's not cold brew. That's warm brew, and it's not great. So that's part one. The other side of that though is we're big on getting coffee from everywhere we go, right? Instead of just going to get cold brew and then you come back and you're like, this is great. I would love to drink it. I don't want to go buy a really expensive coffee machine. So getting having the grounds and then just getting one of those. We have disposable compostable pods that just like slap into the Keurig. Now you get the coffee from wherever, and it goes into your Ember mug. I'm a happy camper pretty much every single day. So those are my hacks. probably less expensive than the combination of whatever that milk frother is and what Oishi strawberries.
I mean, Embers are not cheap. They own Ember.com, which is a tremendous domain name. As soon as I saw it was Ember.com, I was like, oh, this isn't gonna be cheap. If it was like embermugs.info, it's like, ooh, this is gonna be cheap.
Embermugcom.com. Yeah, it's not super cheap. I will say, like, mine was a gift, so get friends that will give you an Ember. Ask for it for the holiday season.
The real hack is have wealthy friends that are generous.
That's the real hack.
Ash, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for rocking with the homies. Taylor, Trusty, and Flavio. Seize the day, own it. Until next time, hold it down, hold it down. Hey.